One thing that Johnny had mentioned too at the top of the show, like when we were talking about our failed pasts and things like that. Like one thing he mentioned, how active are you with like the crowdfunding community? Do you back a lot of projects? Do you share people's projects, things like that?
I kind of just jumped into it. I know about Kickstarter and Indiegogo and things, but I hadn't like really tried it.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I need to get serious about this. So I've backed several, and so about half of them that actually made it and half that didn't. I wanted to see once like what the process was like for like if I was going to ask people to do it.
Yeah, like you could see it from the backer's perspective, right?
Yeah. So like, okay, like what do I look for when I'm looking for a project, and like what kind of creators do I appreciate? Like what kind of interactions? And so yeah, and it was cool just to be able to like really look at it and like try to put my money where my mouth is. You know, if I'm gonna ask people to donate, like I need to find some other people's projects that I believe in enough to donate to them. And so I've been able to meet actually a couple of people, you know, message over social media and stuff, and it's been cool to like see projects that are kind of similar to mine that are working, and these other creators that are doing cool stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, did you have any like thoughts on that part of it? Like, because you back a ton of campaigns, like
like this show kind of helps to that a little bit, because it's like, you know, we see so many awesome people come on that have like such really cool projects. It's like I'm like, I gotta be good this month, can't spend extra money, but then somebody comes on with like a dope book like Star Noir, you kind of have to, you know what I mean?
But absolutely.
What my rule of thumb, and like I didn't launch my own campaign until I was already a super backer. So I had already like backed in excess of, I think, of 150 other campaigns. And I think I just passed 200 at this point. But the other thing is you don't have to be like a full-fledged backer to get the number. Like you can pledge $1 to somebody. You could pledge $5 to somebody. You could just do only digital. So that way you're kind of, and that's why I always advocate, do digital if you're a creator, because you can always read the content, and you're also making it easier on the creator in terms of fulfillment.
Yeah,
you know, so, but the more you back in advance, the bigger that number is. I feel like somewhere in the algorithm, it feeds back a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what you want to, you don't want to go in there. I've seen a lot of people cavalier, you know, Tony excluded it with his story earlier, where they just kind of go in at ground zero without having backed anything. And, you know, they don't see that reverberation, and they're wondering why their campaign doesn't succeed. You know,
there's
two weed smoking zombie guys I can point to if you want to get an example. But
can't imagine who that might be. But
exactly.
So in terms of like backing, you should start thinking about it as being part of like the indie community. Is that like a good way to say it? Like, not that you really have like
you don't have to plug yourself into the community. You just kind of have to look for projects that speak to you. And even if you don't have the money to back a full amount, back a little bit, and that puts you just, it gives a little bit, right? Gives you the number, gives you a connection. When you go to, you know, launch your campaign, you can say like, hey, don't expect you know, anything in terms of a back, but you know, if you want to check me out, I've just launched my first campaign, and there's a little bit of mileage there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you don't have to worry about plugging yourself into a comic community. You just really have to kind of advocate and look around and put a little bit of backing elsewhere. And, you know, karma kind of reverberates around in some weird way.
Right. So you shouldn't like look at it as like, hey, I back you, you better back me. You should just look at it as like, get all the stuff you like, look around, see stuff that you like, and then kind of either, if you have the money to back it. If not, maybe throw them a few bucks as a tip or something, like that kind of thing. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You know, it makes sense.
You also just, for optics, you don't want to go in green in terms of the way your profile looks. You know what I mean? You want to look like you've actually used the platform a little bit, and you're kind of spreading the wealth a little bit. You know, even if it's just, like I said, $1 here, $1 there. You know.
Yeah, I guess like I have actually looked at that when I go into people's projects to like see if they've backed some, just because it's like I feel like if they've done it more, then they're a little more serious about what they're doing, almost, you know. So I'm like, oh, I can trust them a little bit more. So sort of.
Yeah, definitely.
That also gives you a certain level of comfort that they're not doing this for a cash grab. Where when the fulfillment happens, you'll actually get the book, and it's not just like you're going to be waiting forever for, you know, money that you invested that you won't be getting back. So if you see there's a lot of backed, you know, people are kind of investing in it, and, you know, they're actively doing things, then, you know, that gives you a little bit of faith to back their campaign as well. You know, again, optics. It's all about optics.
And Johnny, quick question: do you know what the number is? Like when you how you become like a super? Like what's the number that you have to hit to become?
Like I said, I think it was like at about 150 where I noticed I became a super backer. So it's somewhere in that range.
So it's like between maybe like 100 and 150, somewhere around there.
Somewhere like that. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. No, that's interesting. Like, because I backed, you know, quite a bit on Kickstarter, but I don't think I'm at that level. I'll have to look and see how many I actually backed, you know.